Ryan, you gonna join us or?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming, everyone. Today we're focusing on our abductors and our adductors, which are very weirdly similar words. They get very confused, but they're two very distinct muscles, and they're super, super important for any type of movement. So going upstairs, walking down the street, biking, and getting out of bed. So I'm gonna stand up so that I can demo a little bit where your abductor and adductor are. I guess you can't really see my face, but that doesn't really matter. So here is your hips, right? And so you have your four quadricep muscles that go down, and on either side, on the outside, is your abductor. So that's out here, and it connects from your hip joint all the way down to your knee. That's your abductor. And then your adductor connects from the inner part of your hip down to your inner knee. So that is your adductor. And if you ever have any knee pain, it often can be from an imbalance between your abductor and your adductor. So we're going to be working on balancing out those two muscles today. So we'll be doing a lot of lower body strengthening and a little bit of mobility. And yeah, okay. If you have any questions, as always, take options, levels, whatever works best for you. If you don't like a movement and you like another one better, just substitute that one. I won't be playing music on my side, but feel free to play it on your side. I think that's it. We're gonna get going. All right, we will be starting on our backs. So that lower back can press down into the mat. Your feet are on the ground, your knees are bent. And so before we start here, we're actually just going to lift our right knee and then straighten it out a little bit. It doesn't need to actually be straight, but you're just getting some lengthening here. So getting some mobility in that hamstring. And then we're just gonna internally and externally rotate our hip here. So we're starting to feel that hip moving in it's called the acetabulum, but your hip joint. So we're internally and externally rotating that leg here. It looks a little funny, but the only thing that's moving is literally that femur in the joint. So you're not moving the knee. Like this movement isn't coming from the knee or anything else other than the hip joint. All right, we'll switch to the other side. That left leg lifts up and we're internally, externally rotating this left leg. So starting to warm up that joint, sending some liquid and mobility towards our left hip joint. And you may even start to feel here kind of the balance of the two muscles working to even out. All right, putting both of those feet down, we'll come into a low bridge. So finding a neutral spine, we'll come up and put those hands on your thighs. So give yourself a little bit of feedback here by pressing down on your thighs and starting to engage the glutes. So we're starting to dial up the glutes here. You can pretend that your feet are like basically like dialing into the ground. So that's really where I feel my adductors start to light up when I pretend I'm like pulling apart the ground, and you'll feel some engagement in between your legs. So we're just gonna start doing a march here. So marching into hip flexion, that foot comes down, marching into hip flexion and down. So working again on that glute strength, but also adding in some of that mobility. And the pelvis is staying even here, so we're not letting the low back come down. And when we have that right leg up next, we're gonna come like we did before. So extend that right leg and we're internally and externally rotating that right leg. And if it feels better to just come down on your back like you did at the beginning, that's fine too. Good, right leg down, we'll extend that left knee up into bend and then extend it and do that internal and external rotation here, but in the glute bridge. Good, 3, 2, 1. Last little thing, we'll do some heel lifts here. So lifting and lowering our heels, warming up some of the fascia in our calves. Good, 3, 2, 1, lowering down onto your back. All right, so we're gonna go into a quick little course sequence, and then we'll go into some more targeted exercises. So bringing those hands behind your head, elbows are pointed up towards the ceiling here. Again, that low back is staying on the ground. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale, lifting up off your shoulder blades. Elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to extend that left leg out straight in front of you. It doesn't have to be straight, but you're extending it out. Toes are flexed in towards you. Foot is down and lower. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up. We're extending that right leg out. And again, see if you can start to feel where the abductor and adductor are working here. Foot down and lower. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up, extending out that left leg. And we're going to do one abduction here. So abducting that left leg out to the side, back to the center, lower, and down. What are you doing, Ryan? Good. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up that right leg here, slow abduction. So we're abducting that leg out to the side, back to the center, and down. Good. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up. So we're adding on this time. So extending that left leg. Before you abduct, we're twisting towards that left leg. And now you're doing your abduction with that tiny twist, back to center, down, and lower. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up off those shoulder blades. Head is back into your hands. Right leg, we're twisting towards that right. Abducting towards that right side, back to center, and down. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, lifting up, extending that left leg, twisting. We're doing one abduction. Hold for a second. Hold that abduction out to the side. Good, back to center and down. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, we're lifting up, extending that right leg, twisting towards the right, just a little inch, extending out to the right and holding here. Good, back to center and lower. Whew. All right, you can take a second, feel free to grab some water, and then we'll go into our first sequence here. Okay, so our interval today is going to be 30 seconds of one exercise, followed by 30 seconds of another exercise, followed by 30 seconds of another exercise, 30 seconds of rest, and we'll go through that twice. And all of the exercises are in the same like general position, so you won't have to be like going all around or anything. You'll be in the same like set position essentially. So we're going to be in quadruped for our first set of 3 exercises. So I might show it to you from like a side angle so you can see what I mean. So you're in our quadruped position. Those knees are under your hips more or less, whatever feels comfortable for your hip mobility. Hands are under your shoulders. Our first exercise is going to be that same movement we did. I'm going to do it this way so I don't hit Ryan, but as we did in our glute bridge. So we're abducting out to the side and back in, abducting out to the side and back in. Our second is just lifting and lowering. So coming up to neutral, lifting and lowering that glute. And then our last one is a fire hydrant. So bringing that knee in and we're extending that hip out to the side. And I feel like in all the videos of people doing fire hydrants, they're like hips up here. So remember that you want that low back to stay even and you're just extending it as far as you can without your hip totally turning. So sometimes I like to put my hands on my pelvis here to make sure I'm staying neutral. Okay, I'm already out of breath. So we'll stay on our left side for all of those. And then we'll switch to the other side the next time we go through these. All right, so finding that quadruped position, we'll start with our abduction in 3, 2, 1. So you're extending that left leg behind you and just abducting to the side and back in. So find that core engagement here so the low back isn't dropping towards the ground, so there's no real back arch. And then start to think about where I showed the abductor and the adductor working. So you should feel kind of both of those lighting up a bit here as we go in 3 seconds into our second one. So we're tapping on this one, the foot towards the ground, and then just lifting it back up to neutral. Tapping the ground, lifting back up to neutral. So this is gonna feel a little bit different. If you want a little bit more adductor, so that inner thigh engagement, you can bring your toes pointed towards your right side. So like my toes are pointed that way instead of straight down. You can feel a little bit, ooh, more fire. 3, 2, and we're going into the fire hydrants here. So that knee is coming out to the side and then lowering. Good. Out to the side. Immediately feel my glutes firing up here. So the glutes are really the beginner and the crucial aspect of engaging our abductor and adductor. Without strong glutes, you will have a total imbalance of those two muscles. 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds off. So take anything you need here. You could come into a child's pose for a second. You could grab some water. You got a hot 15 to take whatever you need, and we'll go to the other side. Hopefully all those made sense and you felt some engagement of the glutes. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1, we're extending that right leg out this time, and we're abducting out to the side and back in on that right leg. You may find that one side is much easier or harder than the other side. Ryan is either yawning or acting like this is hard. I can never tell. Core is engaged here as well. Remember that low back isn't dipping. Good. 3, 2, 1. So we're tapping the foot down to the ground, raising it back up to neutral, tapping the ground. And try not to protract the shoulder blades too much here. So finding a stable scapula placement too. So they're like tapping onto your ribs. Nice job. All right, we're getting ready for those fire hydrants in 3, 2, 1. So we're just, again, finding that neutral pelvis and lifting that knee out to the side and back in. So you can see that on the way up, you're really dialing up that abductor, and on the way down, you're controlling with your adductor. Whew. 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Whew. You can give those wrists a nice roll if you need. Also, you can stretch them out if that feels better. We'll be off our wrists for a little bit, but oh yeah. Ryan puts on music because I don't play it. All right, so we're gonna go into our next 3 exercises, which will all start from a standing position. Let me just raise this up a little bit so you can see me. Okay, so our first exercise are curtsey lunges. So again, finding that neutral pelvis. We're going to step behind and back, and my pelvis is still facing forward as I drop both knees down, step back to neutral, step behind. Curtsey lunge. If that feels inaccessible, just focus on doing those normal lunges facing forward. There's nothing inherently different. The curtsey lunge works your glute med a bit more, which can be helpful for engaging your adductor and abductor, but normal lunges are totally acceptable here if the curtsey lunges feel wonky at all. Exercise number 2 is going to be just abduction. So finding that neutral pelvis, a little bend in that knee, and we'll extend out to the side and back in. So notice that you don't want to pitch that pelvis. The pelvis is staying neutral, and my leg's not lifting very high. So don't worry about it being, equal to your hip height. And then our third exercise here, we're going to find that same internal rotation as we did before. So it's kind of hard to see with my foot here, but you're going to be externally rotating the hip and then lifting and lowering with an externally rotated foot. So you're going to feel that hip flexor and your adductor fire up real fast. All right, let's do it. We're starting with our lunges. So whether that be the curtsey lunges or you can do regular lunges if that feels better for you. We'll start in 3, 2, And you can alternate. I'm gonna alternate sides. If you wanna just stay on one side the whole time, you can, or you can alternate. So stepping far enough back, yeah, that you're able to get both knees into about a 90-degree position. But again, everyone's hip mobility is gonna be a little bit different here. Core is engaged. Getting ready for that hip abduction in 3, 2, 1. So finding that neutral pelvis and then extending out to the side and lower. So again, where are your hip points and are they moving at all with that abduction? And this doesn't have to be a fast movement. In fact, the slower the better. And you would be surprised how often you're doing this movement in day-to-day life. 3, 2, so we're internally rotating that foot. So externally rotating the knee, and we're lifting and lowering here with a neutral pelvis. So the toes are pointed, my right toes are pointed towards the right. And you may not have huge mobility here, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be a big movement. You're basically just lifting and lowering this leg with the toes slightly facing towards the right. 3, 2, 1. Whew, shake it out. My hips are feeling lots of magic. All right, got 20 seconds. Grab some water if you need. We'll repeat that all one more time. What music are you listening to? What are you listening to? Kygo. All right, getting ready for those curtsy lunges or regular lunges again in 3, 2, 1. So stepping behind, and then finding that neutral pelvis, stepping behind. So where is the core here? I sometimes like to put one hand on my core, one on my pelvis. It helps me make sure that I'm not pitching it as I drop. Good. 3, 2, 1. Finding that abduction position. We're on the other side this time, so make sure you're switching legs for the abduction. And this leg is my tight leg, so my mobility is a lot less on this side. So think of your pelvis here as like it's holding a bunch of water and you don't want to tip it over. So you want it to be totally immovable, and that's why I keep my hands on my hips except for the leg moving. All right, we're externally rotating those toes and we're lifting and lowering with externally rotated toes. Ooh, my hip flexor just fires up immediately. Ah! That right knee is a little bit bent. This is just, ow. Good. 3, 2, 1. Shake out those legs. Ow. Man, oh man. You'd be surprised though, you use those muscles going up the stairs every day, so it's very useful to have that mobility. All right, we have 2 more different sequences here. Our first exercise is just going to be a squat position. So finding that squat position, starting first with a hip hinge. So we're hinging back, sitting down into that squat and lifting. So those knees aren't coming forward, hinging back and lifting. So just standard squats. It can be whatever width feels best for your hips. Some people, their squat width is here. Some their squat width is here, depending on how their hips feel. So play around with that. Our second exercise will be actually a wider squat, so more of a goddess squat. My toes are turned out, but some people, that doesn't feel good on their hips. So you can have those toes turned in just with a wider stance. But second exercise is our goddess. So those knees are out further, lifting and lowering into that goddess. And then our third exercise is side lunges. So starting from that neutral, stepping out to the side, hinging back, switching to the other side. You'll feel that adductor light up immediately. So stepping back, hinging, So the knee is staying right over your ankle and then lifting. All right, we're starting with our squat position here. So whatever version of squats feels the best for you. We'll start in 3. And Ryan has added weights. If you want weights, that's fine too. 3, 2, 1. So again, remember that hinging position and then squeezing back up. Our glutes should be pretty engaged now, so it should be pretty easy to light them up and squeezing back up. So that same kind of positioning here of that neutral pelvis, hinging back and lifting. Good. 3, 2, 1. Bring in the width a little bit wider. So if you want to turn out the toes, or you can keep the toes turned in, and we're lifting and lowering. Same kind of positioning here of that neutral pelvis. So you can see for Ryan, it feels better to have his feet a little bit closer for this. For me, I'm like, wider the better. That feels better on my hips. So everyone's mobility is going to be a little bit different. Coming to side lunges in 3, 2, 1. So stepping to the side, hinging those hips back, coming to center, other side hinging back. I don't have a ton of room here, but hinging back, stepping to center. We're alternating sides here, so. Good. 3, 2, 1. 30 seconds off. Shake out those legs. Grab water. Take a second. A little recovery period, and we'll go through that one more time. How'd the weights feel? All right, we got 10 seconds here. Getting ready for our second squat sequence. So starting with those comfortable squats, whatever width that is for you, in 3, 2, 1. So again, hinging and squeezing back up, hinging and squeezing. So my comfortable width is about here. Some people it's very different. So play around with the width that feels the best for you. Good, getting ready for those wide squats in 3, 2, 1. Those feet come wide, toes turned out, and lifting and lowering here. So really squeezing those adductor muscles, because this is where they really need to fire up in order to keep your knees from falling in. Chest is still lifted. All right, getting ready for those side lunges in 3, 2, 1. So stepping out to the side, hinging, back to center, stepping out to the side, lunging back to center. I again like to keep my hands on my hip bones to press it back to remind myself not to fall forward. Sometimes Ryan thinks that it's weird I just hold my pelvis for the whole class, but it's a good reminder of where it's at, because sometimes it goes rogue. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Nice job, everyone. We got one more. All right, so our last sequence is going to be on the ground again. So our first movement will be clamshells. So you can come down on like from your armpit to your elbow, or if it feels better to be just on your forearm, that's fine too. I personally like being all the way down. Those knees are stacked and we'll come to a clamshell. So the heels, imagine the heels are glued together and we're just opening and closing here. So you're gonna feel that abductor really light up. So this is our first 30 seconds. Our second 30 seconds, we're adding on an internal rotation. So that knee is coming in, the foot is coming up, and then tapping down and lower. So internal, adding on that internal rotation and lower, open, internal. And then our final 30 seconds If you weren't already on your forearm, we're gonna be coming into glute med lifts. So I think it's helpful to see this from the side so I don't hit my head. So your feet are stacked and you're gonna press through your feet and your calves to lift the hips up and then lower them back down. And then if it feels okay, you can lift that top leg and then lower it together. So that top leg is lifting and then back down. So your options are to keep those legs together and lift up the hip, or to hover that top leg. I hope that makes sense. I think you'll be able to feel it as we go and see how it feels. All right, so I'm starting on my right side. You're bringing that arm out, or you can stack it, whatever feels best. We're in that clamshell position. In 3, 2, 1. So we're just opening up. And again, I like to keep my hand right on my pelvis to make sure I'm not opening up here. So my mobility is not very much here, and that's okay. So pretending that those feet are glued together and the knees are just opening up. Should feel that abductor and our glute really firing up. All right, getting ready to add in that internal rotation in 3, 2, 1, and then adding in that internal back to foot and lower. So we're opening, internal rotation, foot down and lower. Opening, internal rotation, foot and lower. Wake up, Ryan. Good, getting ready to come up on that forearm in 3, 2. So forearm here, and remember your options. You can hover that top leg and then lower, or you can keep both hips stacked and just lift and lower your hips. So whatever feels best for you here, pressing through your calves, your shin area. Good, 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds off. So taking the second, we'll switch over to the other side. If you have any questions about any of those two, I feel like those are a little more complex. Well, let me know. All right, we're gonna find ourselves on our other side here. So same options as before. Your arm can be out, or you can come on your forearms. In that clamshell position, we'll start in 3, 2, 1. So opening up that hip, lower, opening up the hip, lower. And you can see pretty much my pelvis is staying in the same place. The only thing that's changing is the same thing as we did at the beginning with the femur moving in my hip joint. This one is definitely weaker. All right, adding in that internal rotation. So we're opening, internally rotating, closing, and lower, open, internal rotation, down and lower. Oh. Good. Nice, 3, 2, 1, coming up on that forearm, same options here. So stacking that elbow right under your shoulder. You can hover that top leg, or you can just lift the hips up with both knees staying tucked together. Almost there. 3, 2, 1. Nice job, everyone. All right, we have one last little thing, and then we will be done with my glutes are like, ow. We have one last thing, and then we'll be done, and we'll do a little bit of mobility and stretching work before we conclude. So I recommend, if you found the last sequence to be uncomfortable on your hips, If you want to like lay a blanket over your mat or something, I find that to be helpful because we're going to be on our sides here. And for a significant amount of time that you may want to lay a blanket like over your mat, or at least just have a plush ground because you will be on that side for a while. So that's my piece of advice before we begin. So we'll start back on that right side. So coming down, I personally like to come all the way down. So I'm like laying with my head on my, my bicep. So we're gonna start with those legs out. You can bend that bottom knee if you want, if that feels better, or you can have them stacked again. If you want to add something under your hip, you may immediately feel here that you want to put like a blanket under your hip or something. That is fine. And we're just going to start here with 30 seconds of lifting and lowering the top leg. So we're flexing, and don't worry again about how high it is. You can just go up a couple, like 2 feet and then lower. So we're just lifting and lowering, checking in where your core is here. Don't want that low back to arch. Oh man, I'm already feeling it. So that toe is flexing towards you. Good. 3, 2, we're coming down to about a foot above your bottom foot and just pulsing. So little pulses. Oh man, this is already so bad. Just little pulses, so that top leg is just doing a small movement right above the bottom one. This is so good for strengthening your hips, though. I know it probably is feeling a little uncomfortable, but it's so, so good for maintaining that hip stability. All right, 3, 2, we're gonna bring that foot about a foot in front of your bottom foot. I know I said foot a lot, but you're going to be lifting and lowering with that foot just about a foot in front of your bottom foot. How many times can you say foot in a sentence? So that foot is like,
it's already in front.
Yeah, there you go. You didn't want it to hurt more, is that why you're doing it?
Sorry.
So you're going to feel it in a different place as when you had it right on top. All right, pulsing. So that foot is right above the ground, about a foot in front of your bottom foot. There's no better way to say it. I don't know. Ah! 15 seconds. This next one is killer. I'm going to warn you for full transparency. If you feel any cramping, take a break and come back to it. Our hips are not really used to this much engagement. We often forget about them. All right, that foot is coming behind your bottom foot this time. So it's just a couple.
Is it about a foot behind
it's about a foot behind your bottom foot. Ow! Oh man. So we're not pulsing yet. We're just lifting and lowering. Oh my gosh.
I'm about to fail. That's how much it hurts.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna fail, take a break and come back to it. Definitely don't push through any pain. I do not subscribe to the no pain, no gain mentality. All right, final 30 seconds here, and then we'll switch to the other side. Little pulses in the back. Okay, Ryan.
I'm pulsing. I'm just pulsing my body instead of my leg.
Oh my goodness. I'm really feeling my abs
I
up here.
can't lift my leg anymore.
Oh. Good. 10 seconds left, and then we'll switch to that other side. And 3, 2, 1. Whew. Ow. We'll do a lot of stretching, don't worry. Hopefully you all Spencer, did you survive?
That was wild. I don't know why.
That really hurt. All right, other side, friends. Let's do it. Oh man. Okay. Oh. Glad I'm not biking in tomorrow morning. All right, so again, starting with that top leg, just right over the bottom foot. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. So again, not necessarily looking for total lifts and lowers. Oh, mother of pearly whirl. So again, flexing that toe towards you, starting to feel some engagement in the abductor. Core is still tucked in here just to help you find some stability in your hip. Good, getting ready for those pulses, so finding about a foot above your foot. Sorry, I can't find a better way to say this, but we're pulsing with that top foot. How's Ryan doing? I can't see him this time. Ryan, how are you doing?
Is it pulsing yet?
Yeah, we're at the pulsing. Yeah, we're actually already 20 seconds into the pulsing. Ooh, this is already hurting. Oh, man. All right, moving that foot a foot to the front above your bottom foot. Lifting and lowering here. So again, you might feel some in your glute med, so which is more of your upper glute here, or sometimes I feel this more in my hip flexor. Got lots of options. Ow. If this is really, really hurting you like it's hurting me, then I feel like it is just evidence how much we forget about our hip muscles. All right, pulses in the bottom of that foot in front of the bottom foot of foot.
Fuck, I've been doing pulses the whole time.
Well, that's fine, Ryan. Whew. 10 seconds. Then we got 1 minute left. All right, foot behind the bottom foot of foot. Lifting and lowering. Oh, this one's the killer one.
And we're a foot.
Yeah, we're a foot behind the bottom foot. It's not out. It doesn't have to literally be a foot. For me, it's about like a half foot.
Now, are we a foot from the heel, which means it's a foot between the heel and the big toe of the other foot?
No, like heel to heel, we're a foot.
So,
all right, pulses, 30 seconds. What, Ryan?
Never mind.
No, like my big toe of my...
Is right at the heel.
Yes, it's right at the heel.
Okay, all right. So literally 1 foot.
So literally 1 foot.
1 foot worth. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, 1 foot worth.
Okay.
Oh! Good, 10 seconds left. You got it, you got it. 3, 2, 1. Come on. Ow! I'm so sorry. I don't remember that being so hard. I did it last time. Oh, man. All right, what time is it? Oh, perfect. We have 5 minutes. Oh, are we alive? Did we make it?
Yeah, it was just surprising steep increase in difficulty at the end.
Yes, I would agree. Wait, you can't leave yet.
I'm not leaving.
All right, we're coming into a hurdler's position. So 1 foot is, I can't stop saying the word foot. I'm just like, I'm very foot heavy right now. It's stuck in my head. All right, so we're in a hurdler's position. So this can look however, your hip mobility looks totally fine. But we're gonna start to hinge towards this front knee. And if it feels good to just stay here, that's totally fine. Or if you want to start to walk forward and come down onto your forearms, that's good too. It sometimes is a pretty nice release of the glute. Oh, mother of pearl. Ooh, this feels real nice today. Good. We'll start walking up here. And we'll switch to the other side. So bringing that left foot in front, right foot behind. It doesn't really matter if you did the other side. Same concept here. So we're hinging towards that front knee. And then walking forward, you can hit your partner on the head. Just kidding. Oh, yeah. Some sweet release in the glutes. You feel a sweet release?
Yeah.
Good. You can start slowly walking up here. You're gonna bring those feet in front of you so you can bring them straight out, but you can keep them bent a little bit. And we're gonna cross that top leg over your bottom leg. So my right leg is crossed over my left leg. And if this feels like enough of a hip opening, stay here. If you wanna add on, you can start to bend that bottom leg. And so, you know, you could be here, you could be here. I can't really go in honestly any further than this, but again, you'll feel some of that opening in your hip, and you don't want to fall into your shoulders. So see if you can sort of press out of your shoulders a bit. So getting some opening in the chest. This is a sweet opening. All right, you can extend that leg back out. We'll switch to the other side, crossing over. So same options, you can keep that bottom leg straight, or you can start to bring that bottom foot in towards you. I have very different hip mobility, so one leg might be real different than the other side. Good, we'll come to cross leg here. So whatever cross-legged feels good for you. And then finding a pretty straight spine, we'll start to walk forward over our crossed legs. Again, you may hit a point where you really start to feel some stretch in the glutes and the inner thighs. Again, trying to keep a pretty long spine here, so we're not just like falling on top of our legs. I'm also like gripping with my fingers a little bit, so I'm pulling, so I'm kind of like building some of my own tension for the stretch. And then we'll walk those hands over towards your left leg, and you might feel a little bit of opening on the hip on your right side. Trying to keep both hips on the ground at all times. This is a really nice stretch for just like a midday gallivant around the floor. Good, we'll walk the hands over to your right side. Can't really go too much because I'm gonna hit myself in the head, but. Good, back to center. And we'll come up, and surprisingly, we're gonna do that one more time, but this time we're gonna switch the way our feet were crossed. So if your feet were crossed this way, cross them the other way, because they actually get a little bit different in this position. So same thing, walking forward, and you might feel it a little bit differently this time with the feet crossed in a different position. We'll walk those hands over towards the left side. Yeah, this side is much tighter for me. Good, walking over towards that left side, or right side for me. Good, back to center. And then we'll just end with some shoulder rolls. So nice big shoulder rolls, releasing some of that shoulder tension from our day. So nice and fun. You can add in some elbows if you want, whatever feels joyful for you. And you made it! Yay! I'm gonna stop recording.